Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Von Manor, where we're doing a tag today because I don't have a heck of a lot of time. So I'm doing a tag today instead of the June on the Range roundup, which I should be doing. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll be putting on my cowboy hat for the last time, for a while anyway. And since I'm filming this before work and I've only got a short amount of time, I'm doing this little tag that was based on a video by Crystal at Fiberartsy, and then Greg at another Bibliophile Reads took that video and made a tag out of it, and it's "Why haven't I read this book yet?" tag. Or these books. Why haven't I read these books yet? And so yeah, he made a tag with prompts and everything, so let's get to it. Why haven't I read these books yet? So there are a few prompts here. The first one is a classic book, and there were a couple prompts where Greg and I actually had the same answer, and then I thought, I should change that up and put different answers just so I don't, have the same video as Greg. But then for this first one, a classic book that I haven't read, I got to put it up here, and that's Middlemarch. Why haven't I read Middlemarch by George Eliot? There's no excuse, really. This book has been out a while, since the Victorian era, so really, I should have read it by now. I've had plenty of time, and it's supposed to be great. This is supposed to be a magnificent book. Has an excellent reputation, and this is one of the books that I was hoping to read this year. I made a bunch of unrealistic plans last year, and videos talking about my unrealistic plans, which proved even more unrealistic than I expected they would be. But this was one of the classics I was hoping I would get to this year, and no, it didn't happen, and it's probably not going to happen. I'm not sure where I can stuff this one in. But I should read it because it's Middlemarch by George Eliot. I should read this book. And why haven't I read this book? I have no idea. Because I was always reading other things, obviously. I guess that's my only reason. Number 2, a fiction book. So I'm assuming this is just general fiction and it's not genre because he has another question about genre later. And for the general fiction, I chose Lady Chatterley's Lover. Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. This is the unexpurgated edition. Yeah, this is right there. It's not even uncut or unedited. It's unexpurgated. You get all the unexpurgated action. Actually, the reason I haven't read this book yet is because I don't think there's a lot of action in this book. It's probably pretty boring. At least it might seem so to me. Look, it does have a scandalous cover, though. Actually, this is pretty nice. This is a cool old paperback edition, actually, which is one of the reasons I've got it. So yeah, should I read this book? I mean, it is kind of a classic, so I should read it, right? It is kind of a classic. Let me know if I should. Is this boring? Because it looks like it would just put me to sleep. And I don't DNF books, so once I start, I've got to read this whole thing, which could be torture if it's, a tedious slog of boredom. But let me know. Should I read it? Should I read it? Some of you have probably read this book. Number 3, a nonfiction book. Well, this was an easy one. Actually, it wasn't. I chose something different at first, but then I chose this. This is A World Undone, the story of the Great War, 1914 to 1918 by G.J. Meyer, about the First World War, and that is something I always want to read more about. And The World Undone is supposed to be fantastic. It looks really good. It is big, but so what? I read books, big books all the time. And I don't really know why I haven't read it, except for the fact that since I've gotten on BookTube, I haven't read a lot of nonfiction books. And I think that's because I got on BookTube in the pandemic. And when the pandemic started, I was just really sick of real life and anything that had anything to do with reality, because I had to deal with a bunch of terrible reality all the time. So I just focused on fiction, and then I did my BookTube channel, which up to this point has mostly been about fiction, really. But I really should get back into more nonfiction. It's time, probably. And so this is a good one to read. Don't think I'll get to it this year, but you know, next year, I'm hoping. Okay, so that was that. And now we get to the genre book. Okay, and the genre I'm talking about is horror. And this one, I really, really should read, and this is Blackwater. So Blackwater by Michael McDowell, which I've mentioned before because I'm always talking about how I want to read this book. First of all, the cover is really cool. Yep, our guy's back here, and the mysterious woman from Blackwater in here. And so, Blackwater, yeah, by Michael McDowell, the great paperback original writer Michael McDowell, wrote a series of short paperbacks that combined make up the story of Blackwater. And they were released, I don't know what the release, how frequently they were released, whether it was monthly or what, but there were a series of paperbacks that made the Blackwater story that came out. Was it in the early 80s? Maybe? I can't remember. But I read the first one, and I was never able to find the rest of them. So I've only read part of this story. And it was really good, the part I read. But then finally, this was all collected together in this very nice hardcover edition. And I've been wanting to read it since I've gotten this book, which was a few years ago now. And I haven't. I've always ended up reading other things. Again, it could be partly because of the length. But, you know, like I said, I read long books all the time. I probably should have prioritized this a bit more the last couple of years. I don't know. Why haven't I read this book? Because I'm an idiot, obviously. That's obvious. That's why I should have read Blackwater and I haven't, because this is supposed to be great. And then, to make matters worse, Criminale read this recently and said how great it was, and I still haven't read it. I've got no excuse, really. Okay, number 5, the book owned for the longest time, but not read yet. Okay, I do have that book. I have that book right here. This is Alone with the Horrors. Alone with the Horrors by Ramsey Campbell. And I got this back in 1994. I think it was 1994. This is the Arkham House edition of this book. There was a newer edition that came out after this. But this is the Arkham House edition. And for the longest time, I wasn't really fond of Ramsey Campbell's writing. There was just something about it that I just didn't get along with. Or at least I thought I didn't. But recently, I've become more interested in this author. And the stuff that I have read recently from Ramsey Campbell has been pretty darn good. And so I'm thinking that maybe I was just stupid. And that Ramsey Campbell's awesome. And so it's about time for me to read this book, which has just been lurking in the manor for years and years and years, literally collecting dust up there on the top of this particular bookcase is where this one has been lurking. And it's a really cool edition. Look at this poor guy in the back. It's got some... The 90s for Arkham House were... Well, they were interesting. This has some cool photographic, doctored photograph illustrations that are really weird. That's pretty cool there. And really creepy. Some of these are genuinely strange. Like creepy lady in the window there. And this is supposed to be a collection of his best stories, or at least his best stories up to 1994, I guess. I think this was actually published in 93 or 94, right around the time that I got it. I got it new. I do remember that. So yeah, this is it. Alone with the Horrors by Ramsey Campbell, the book that has been lurking in stately Vaughan Manor the longest, probably. There might be some books that I've had this long that I haven't read, but this is the one that kind of stands out just because I've become more interested in this author. And I really should read this book. So yeah, there you go. And I think that was it. That was all of them. And so it was a little 10-minute tag. So that's good because I've got to go to work. So, and the last one is I'm supposed to tag people. And so, yeah, I'll tag a couple people. I will tag It Came From The Page because that channel is awesome and It Came From The Page should get more viewers. And I will also tag Disshelved with Adam White. I'm not sure he ever does tag videos actually, but I'm going to put Disshelved with Adam White down anyway because more people should watch that channel because he's cool. And I guess that's all I'll tag. No, I'll tag Justin at This Justin as well. You know, just to see if I can get him to make another video. So there you go, 3 people I tagged. See? Magnificent. Okay, guys. I will catch you next time.